Gavin from Edinburgh, Scotland writes to me, "Hey Paul, I've always assumed that more power equals better sound, but lately I've heard some people say that small, well-designed amps can actually sound more musical and natural than massive high wattage monsters. Now, that's surprising to me. I'm running fairly efficient speakers in a small to medium room. Do I really need a big amp? Or could I get better results with something simpler and more refined? Is there something about smaller designs that makes them more agile or transparent? I'd love your thoughts on whether quality trumps quantity when it comes to power." Well, here's a big amp. Look at the size of this sucker. This is the 600, and this is a beast, and it's one of the best sounding amplifiers I've ever heard. It blows the socks off of every small amp we have ever built. Is that the rule? In some respects, yes. In many other respects, no. Okay. Amps and their sound are all over the map. Class Ds sound different than Class ABs. Vacuum tube amps sound different than FET amplifiers. On and on and on. Amplifiers all sound different. So much of it depends on what you're looking for. It also, it really just depends on the design. We make a range of amplifiers from a couple hundred watts a channel up to 600, 1200 watts a channel, and they all sound different. They all have different characteristics. In general, I prefer greater watts than fewer watts. But that is so generalized, it's hard to just come up with something that answers your question, right? So, for instance, we know that in any amplifier, there's a small range of linearity. And that range of linearity, if the amplifier can produce this, the range of linearity is typically like this, 10, maybe 20%. When you get outside that range of linearity, now we're using the amp's feedback, we're using the amp's this and that, and to try and get the power to go out. And the bigger the amp, the larger the linear region is. The first watt, the second watt, the third watt, and then beyond. In a big amplifier, most of what it's doing, it's just loafing along, and everything you hear is in that linear range. On a smaller amp, that's not true. Most of what you hear is outside that linear range, and it's struggling a little bit. But again, it just depends on the design. So it's hard to make these generalized rules. And I know we all want to just have the easy answer, right? This is, and an easy answer is buy big. But there are a number of big amps that sound like dog doo-doo. I mean, whoa, I would not have them in my system. So it's manufacturer dependent, it's design dependent. Find out how much feedback the amp has. Does it have a lot of feedback? Does it have an extremely high damping factor? How's it work? You don't want a lot of feedback. You want something that has very low feedback if you can. We're working on a whole new line of amplifiers, and those PMG amplifiers are about as unique as it comes. They have a ratio of frequency and distortion, open loop, meaning no feedback, that is extraordinary, that goes way out beyond human hearing before any feedback is needed. And that is something that's been a dream for many years. And our engineer, our former engineer, Darren Myers, figured it out. Darren's still in town, still a very good friend. We're always having lunch together. And Darren figured it out. Figured out how to make an amp that goes from here to there without any change in distortion, slew rate. I mean, stunning. But it's inner details like that of the design that really make the amp sound the way it does. So if you want a general rule of thumb, go bigger and Another general rule of thumb, make sure the manufacturer you're buying your amp from has a clue how things sound good. Maybe give a listen. And make sure you get a return policy in case it doesn't work synergistically in your system. All right? I hope that helps. Thanks.